are back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports One. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally stoked and excited for this.
And we are back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Port. And once again, it is the Barnes and Tony Show. Anthony, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. You know, it's Friday, beautiful day. Get ready for the weekend, dude. Halloween's coming up soon. I mean, you know, what a time to be alive, huh?
Yeah, you know, and it's just like sometimes, things in life don't go your way, but you just keep on going. And that's what we're doing here today. So let's just jump right into it. The world of Major League Baseball.
2-2, he got him swinging. A back-to-back strikeouts for Robbie Ray.
There's damage right there. Shohei, way, Sayonara. Where did that land?
Stuck to Chapman, who leaps up and grabs it.
Story spins and fires. Out at first.
There it goes. See ya. Home run, Aaron Judge.
All right, Tony. So another tough loss yesterday. As first said, it's a tough loss, but the Yankees can bounce back. They need to sweep in the Bronx.
Very
and
doable.
Of course, that is very true, and very. It seems like Before is turning a page here. You know what I mean? He's kind of changing his rhetoric a little bit.
I think he's got, you know, a little bit of a, you know, empathetic situational kind of feeling here.
I mean, listen. I mean, it's the postseason. You're one series away from the World Series, something you've been, earning to get back to for 13 years, and you lose the first two games. Lack of offense, another 13 strikeouts yesterday for the Yankees. So kind of the same old story. And it's just one of those things where the one thing you have to look at is like, it always, when there's some type of, things going a certain way, it seems like it's always the Astros way, not the Yankees way. But listen, I mean, you got to do your job. But definitely just was tough because if you look about it, I mean, the Astros didn't exactly rip the cover off the ball both of these games. And yesterday specifically, I mean, 1 for 5 in runners in scoring position. That one, unfortunately, was a 2-strike, 3-run homer over the Crawford boxes in left field off Luis Severino. And it's just like, that was the only thing they did all game. They had runners on all game, couldn't drive them in. But on the Yankees side, I mean, there's no excuse. I mean, 13 strikeouts, like I said, and the only 2 runs that you scored, how you got there, it all started on a ball that was tapped back to the pitcher. He slips instead of a double play. There's no outs, and there's runners on second and third. And you really, I mean, you got an infield hit and a sac fly? Because, I mean, that's basically, what happened. And it's just like you just couldn't get the big hit. Obviously Judge came close in the 8th, but of course, just not enough, at the warning track. And, there was some mention about the roof and if it was closed, that ball would have went. But
come on,
me and Matt were talking about it yesterday. You can't blame it on stuff like that. Like, obviously it's unfortunate. And like I said, I mean, I'm not using it as an excuse, but it just seems like, in these 50-50 situations, obviously some of them went our way against Cleveland, but against Houston, no matter what year we're talking about, it always just seems to go their way. And the one thing that I take away from this game is, of course, Louis, he looked great other than that home run, but I mean, you have to say, I mean, every time he's in the postseason, he never shuts down the opponent. He always figures out a way to give 2, 3, 4 runs earned. So, I mean, that's something that you don't necessarily like. But other than that, I mean, he did pitch well. But the offense, I mentioned the 13 strikeouts, but it's not even just that. I think the biggest thing, I mean, it really is foolish, Tony. I don't know if I've ever seen a team swing at so many breaking balls that are balls in the dirt.
Yeah.
Every time. The same thing. It's like, why would anybody want to pitch them a fastball? And then the few fastballs that they get, they don't hit. So it's that simple. You have to have plate discipline. Clearly, the Houston Astros have that. And I know, they didn't, like I said, they didn't rip the cover off the ball, but they also don't just strike out on 3 pitches or constantly fall behind. I feel like that's the combination of why runs have not been scored in these first 2 games for the Yankees. A total of 4 through the first 2 games is because they're constantly getting behind in the count and then swinging at breaking balls in the dirt for strike 3. And it started out okay. They didn't have that many strikeouts, but Valdez had a similar kind of run that Verlander had where, half to 3/4 of the way through his start, just wanted this run, strikeout.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just what I take away from it. It's like, you got to change your approach. And it's like, I know the guys are capable, and I know Josh Donaldson had that double, but I mean, come on, man. I mean, can we just bench him next game? And it's like, put Oswaldo Cabrera at third base. I mean, just do it. You have to do it. And then I can't believe the fall from grace for Matt Carpenter. It's unbelievable. 0 for 7 now with 7 strikeouts. I don't know if I've ever seen
night,
that.
Right when he pitched hit.
And it was the last out of the game. And at first, it looked like it was a check swing, but then they rolled back the tape, and it was a shame because LeCastro stole second. So if he was able to hold up, then who knows what would happen. But I don't think you can go to him at this point. He just hasn't shown that he can hit, and it's like, I think the only way that the Yankees have a chance to come back in this series is if they make Houston throw fastballs.
Yeah.
You have to be disciplined at the plate. They're clearly not disciplined at the plate. And I don't know if I'm exaggerating. I mean, obviously you tend to exaggerate things when it's your own team, but is it not like some of the worst plate discipline when it comes to off-speed pitches that you've ever seen?
Easily, honestly. You're looking at look at the numbers here with Valdez, right? He threw 101 pitches last night. 78 of them were strikes, right? Which leaves, I think, or 73 of them were strikes, which leaves 28 pitches that were balls. And he didn't have 1 walk last night. So it's like, you're swinging at most of those pitches that are outside your strike zone, not your spot. It's not your pitch you're looking for. Just take it. Most of them were balls here, those breaking balls. I mean, most of them were outside the strike zone. You're taking, all of a sudden, if the Yankees start taking those pitches, more guys are getting walked, more guys are on base. You're in a position to put more pressure on their starting pitcher. And then, you can create opportunities in terms of getting runners in and getting some more runs on the board here. Just that little bit of discipline would have made an entirely different game. Most likely in the favor of the Yankees. We talked about it yesterday where, it was almost a mentality game in terms of, kind of forgetting about Verlander's start. Yeah, he's finalist for the Cy Young. That is one game you would expect to be, your toughest, maybe have a loss after that one because of Verlander. And that's exactly what happened. But then you have to kind of just reset, get ready for Valdez. And it seemed like, I don't know if it's just lack of them doing research on Valdez or just the nervousness at the plate, but it seemed like, the plan that we were trying to lay down yesterday of forgetting about game 1, staying focused on game 2 here, understanding that Valdez, will make mistakes, which he did, but there was just no capitalizing on those mistakes. And it seemed like they were nervous, hacking at pitches outside of the strike zone, striking out when they should have been. 13 strikeouts last night, you said, right?
Yeah.
20 over the course of 2 games here.
30
over the course of 2 games here. Excuse me. It's just not like Valdez isn't that great.
And the thing
they
is,
should not be striking out this much.
But first says the game was very close. It could have went either way. The umpire had bad day calling balls and strikes for the Yankees. And it's like some of them. No, he did.
Some of them were
did.
egregious.
But Tony, you still could find a way to do it. And that's what we've just seen since this postseason, consecutive stretch of making the postseason every year since 2017 started. It's like you have to step up
right
in the ALCS. And they just have not done that other than in 2017 at home. So we're hoping for a similar pattern. You lost the first 2 games. Then you won 3 in a row at home. And I think you have to do that. I think 2 out of 3 is not good enough. You can't. I don't know how you could say you have a shot of winning 6 and 7 in Houston. At least if you only have to win 1,
right?
I get that, but
I mean, I don't know. Again, I think looking ahead here is probably something that's not good for the Yankees because you're down 2-0. Why are you looking ahead? It's next game,
Yeah.
and it's, regardless of the umpire's calls, regardless if the roof is open or not, it was a 3-2 game. You had more than enough opportunities to tie it up, to take the lead, and you didn't capitalize on it. It was the Yankees' fault as to why they lost last night.
And other than when they scored on a ground out with Rizzo, well, I guess he technically was safe. I think they might have called an error on that. I don't know. Whatever it was. But that was the only time that someone choked up on the bat to put the ball in play. The only time. So it's like, I don't know. And I think Stanton said it after the game. He was the only one taking accountability. Even Louis said that the Astros got lucky that Judge's ball was hit harder and should have went out. And it's like, it is true in a sense, Tony, but at the end of the day, you just have to do it. I don't know how many times I could say that. You have to do it. You have to come up big, and you got to stop waiting for the other team to come up big, because that's what it just seems like keeps happening here. And it's like, I think the approach has got to change. I guess they really are trying to put everything out. And going into the game, I think it was 18 out of 22 runs scored via the home run. So now it's 18 out of 24 this postseason. But you gotta change. I mean, and I don't understand why it's so hard to work together. You have your guys that are your superior power hitters, like Rizzo, like Judge, like Stanton. Everybody else, just how about you just work on getting on for those guys? And it's just like everybody wants to be the hero. Everybody wants to lift one out over the fence. And it's like, how many times do they need to see? How many consecutive postseasons do they need to have that same mindset and come up short, especially against the Astros? I don't know what it's going to take. And the one thing that you feel good about, or two things really, is number one, for game 3 tomorrow at Yankee Stadium, I mean, you have Garrett Cole. So you feel like he's going to neutralize that Houston offense. And number two, your crowd, I mean, they at this point hate Houston more than the Red Sox. So they are going to be into this game full effect. And a lot of times, adrenaline can carry you. Like some of the balls that the Yankees hit, like Judge's ball, would have been out at Yankee Stadium. So you expect that stuff to fall your way. Obviously, it works in favor of both teams offensively. And that you're just going to hit better, that you're going to learn from your mistakes. And it's not official, but I think they're anticipating Lance McCullers getting the start. And I don't think it matters who it is, because it's not Verlander, it's not Valdez, so it's going to be easier. You're going to be at home, but you just have to execute, and you have to stop, making excuses. Boone made excuses as well. Talking about the roof being open and
so bad.
Ball. And it's you can't talk like that.
No.
That is a losing mentality. We talk about mentality here all the time. That is a losing mentality. And it's like, you know what? Instead of dwelling on those things, make new moments and be the hero and do things that you've never done before, and just relish the moment. And I think that's what they continue to fail to do. And I think they have no choice. They need to win these 3 games. Obviously, like you said, it's one game at a time, one inning at a time, one at bat at a time, but there's no margin for error. You need to step up, and you need to act like the New York Yankees should act, and not like these hesitant children out there. That's what it feels like. They're just so nervous about everything. There's no confidence, and there's no proper execution. And, it gets very frustrating. I'm definitely keeping an open mind, but I just think it's unfortunate that you did a couple of things here that just cost you. And I think, everybody plays a part, but I think at the end of the day, the biggest blame is the lack of discipline in the box. And I don't know why that is so difficult for them. I really don't understand it.
Do you think Boone is talking to them about that? Do you think he's talking about just choking up on the bat and getting people on base? Because you mentioned Rizzo doing that, and I feel like, Rizzo has done that in the past. I mean, obviously, we know Rizzo has a lot of experience here. He's a good hitter. He knows he can choke up on the bat and get in play. Seems like the only player on the Yankees to be doing that. I mean, do you think, honestly, do you think Boone is telling them just like exactly what we're saying? Forget about the home run ball, get the ball in play. Judge can do his thing. Stanton can do his thing. Everyone else, just get the ball on the ground, get on base.
I think he does say it, but it's like one of those things when, to give an analogy, like when someone, you talk with someone and you both agree, all right, next week, we're gonna go to the gym, we're gonna cook chicken and vegetables every day, and then by Tuesday you're having pizza and ice cream for dinner.
Right.
That's what it is. It's like you go in with that mentality, but then when it comes down to it, all of that goes out to the window and you go back to your same ways, and you have to stay disciplined. And someone who knows that just joined us, Chokery from North Carolina. So once again, we appreciate him tuning in. And he says, hey guys, Yankees will win in the Bronx. And that's what it's all about. That's what you have to do. And there's no excuses. And he knows that. It doesn't matter what sport we're talking about here. There's no time for excuses. And it's all about execution. And the Yankees have shown they can be a dominant team at home, and their crowd is like no other crowd. And they don't need to wave towels around like they do at Minute Maid Park, Tony.
Is something with the towels?
I think that I'm not a towel guy.
No?
You notice, think about that though. When have you ever seen a towel being waved around at Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, I guess so. Although I will say, it's nice thing to go home with. You go to the game, you get the nice ALCS towel.
How about just win a game?
That would be nice, dude.
Chances
of booze out of the Bronx.
No booze.
No booze at all.
No. There'll be booze, but not booze, I mean, it sounds the same, does it not?
No, it
is.
It not? Yeah, booze and booze.
But that's the mindset, that Chokery speaks of. That's what you have to have. You have to be confident. And that's the thing. And as frustrated as I am, I'm just trying to break down the game for everybody. But these guys cannot think about games 1 or 2. That is over with. That is done and over with. And it's about right now. And when the Mets were on their run to the World Series in 2015, Boomer Esiason every day on the morning show, on the Fan, as Michael walks in, he said it's one pitch, it's one at bat, it's one game, it's one situation, and that's what you have to do. And I think they know that. And like I said, I think when they take the field, for tomorrow's game, I think that adrenaline will get them off to a good start. And that's all it takes is, I think that is a big thing I've noticed with this team is when they start out strong, like game 5 of the ALDS, Stanton hits the 3-run home run, and then they don't look back. And that's what you have to do. You have to start out strong, ride the wave of momentum, and just keep going. And that's what I really am anticipating that they're going to do. And it's just going to be interesting to see if there's more changes in the lineup. I mean, obviously with Cole out there, even though last year Higgy was his personal catcher, you expect Trevino back in the lineup, but it's like, can they get some type of offensive production out of the catching position? I mean, it's unbelievable. Higgy 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts last night. That's not going to cut it. So you hope Trevino, the home crowd, they always get riled for him. I was just talking to you before. I don't think Carpenter's in the lineup. I think you have to do something different there. It is kind of pathetic, Tony, but I mean, do you not agree that I guess IKF is better suited in the lineup than Carpenter?
I suppose at this point, right?
I mean, because what's your other option?
Nothing.
It's so sad though, and it's like you just don't have another option. It's a shame that DJ LeMay was on this roster, because at least, I mean, I think the toe injury, whatever you want to say, but him as a designated hitter, I know he can make contact with the ball. I mean, Carpenter literally made contact with the ball, twice? Foul tips, maybe. So I just don't see how you run him out there.
Are you would you blame Boone for having him in the lineup, or you think it's more of like a?
I think after 2 days ago, so game 1, after that performance, when there's 1 out to go and you're on the verge of going down 0-2, you can't bring him up. You just can't do it. I mean, literally, especially with the tell me that this isn't crazy. And I know I don't like him. I hate him, basically. But if all they had to do, you have LeCastro pinch running for Donaldson, put IKF up there and do a hit and run. I mean, that gives you your best shot. Matt Carpenter breaking balls in the dirt. You have no shot to get a hit off Ryan Presley.
Yeah.
No shot. So Gotta change the strategy up. And before also mentioned that Judge only has one walk in the playoffs, and that's very true. He's always been known as a patient hitter, waiting for his pitch. And I think being at home, having an off day after the tough stretch that they've had here, I think that will only aid him. So we'll see, what changes are to be made. And it's almost I think it's definitely a good thing with this schedule that they've had that they're off tonight. Obviously I'll miss watching them. But I think the rest, will be well, we'll do well for them. So we do have one baseball game tonight, game 3 between the Padres and the Phillies from Citizens Bank Park here. And as we mentioned yesterday, a pitching matchup of Joe Musgrove versus Ranger Suarez. The Padres road favorites here at -115. And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with, their advantage in the pitching matchup. Musgrove has looked very good this postseason. And of course, off the heels of that big comeback in game 2. But you have to think that the Philly faithful is going to be riled up for this one. These are game 3 series tied at 1 apiece. I mean, those are important games for sure. So you feel that the Padres have the edge there, but it's like, I think the biggest thing, Tony, with the Padres is what type of offensive performance are they going to give you? Because it seems like it's either all or nothing. You either have a great offensive game or they have one hit like they did in game 1. So I think that's the biggest wild card here. I think, like I said, this is very important. And I'm just kind of curious your thought process here for game 3. What are you expecting to see out there?
We talked about a little bit about it yesterday. I do think that, Musgrove's gonna come out here as he's been doing the postseason, and he's gonna have a really good outing. I would say someone who I think hasn't really done well against the Phillies, who did do really well against the Mets, was Grisham. I think the last game, I think he was 0 for 4. He really had no offensive production. And you look at that guy, I mean, he's someone who, needless to say, kind of gave the Mets a lot of trouble. And he kind of changed the way the Mets were pitching against the Padres lineup, because he was a guy in the bottom of the lineup who was giving them a lot of issues here. Not to mention, you look at the last game. I mean, you had Josh Bell and Brendan Drury, taking the game and, commandingly. Those are guys that they got at the trade deadline here that are, paying dividends for.
Sounded like Doggy said it.
For the Padres here. And of course, Machado doing what he does pretty well. I think he was 3 for 5 the last game. And that was with Soto. I think Soto had like a RBI single or something. He was 1 for 4. Nothing crazy. I'm kind of expecting Soto and Grisham to have some good games offensively. And then, with Musgrove kind of, who I think is going to kind of shut down this Phillies offense here. I know, I feel like most of the Phillies here, besides Bryce Harper, have been kind of a little underwhelming. Last game they did well. I think it was second inning when they started scoring, but then, bottom of the second, the Padres are answering right back immediately, and the Phillies were just absolutely silenced for the rest of the game until I think maybe, I forget who, maybe Hoskins had a home run in the 8th or something like that. But I mean, you tell me between the 2nd and the 8th inning, they had no scoring whatsoever. Just because, the Padres had that big bottom of the 2nd inning and they kind of changed the momentum, the feel of the game. And I think the Padres, with their lineup, have that ability at any given moment to really just, turn the tides here in the Phillies. I think it's going to be a really tough game for the Phillies here. Musgrove's going deep. I don't think he's really going to buckle at all. And like I said, I'm expecting bigger games here from Grisham and Soto. I think, like I said yesterday, I think the Padres are going to come out here with the dub. Somewhat maybe higher scoring. I think it was 8-5, right? The last game.
Yeah.
I would say the Padres maybe like a 6-3 victory, 6-2, something like that. I think it'd be pretty decisive here, man.
So I'll mark you down for the Padres. I'm going to go with the Phillies. And I just think Musgrove's been great, but I think the Philly faithful, they're going to be fired up. Could get a little chaotic there. Citizens Bank. And I could see Harper, kind of relishing the moment. Kyle Schwarber, when those two get going, balls just fly out of that building. So I kind of could see that happening. I think Musgrove, might have like a Luis Severino performance, like a 5-3. And I could see the Padres offense, like I said, susceptible to that goose egg. not really getting anything done here. So I'm going to say 6-1, the Phillies over the Padres to take that 2-1 lead. So I'll mark that down for myself. And just updating from last night, you picked up 3, I picked up 2. So I have 25 points. You have 17. So still some time here to cut that deficit. And obviously, there's a lot of picks to be made. But for now, Tony, let's go to the world of the National Football League.
6 for 101, 2 touchdowns. To Evans! Touchdown, Tampa Bay! How about that throw?
Sam Darnold blasted. Oh my goodness, did he take a hit?
In trouble, what? Brings him down. Lost one for Odell Beckham Jr. Got it down. Touchdown.
All right, Tony. We finally get, and Al Michaels is cheesing still after last night's 42-34 shootout victory for the Arizona Cardinals over the New Orleans Saints. And it was just crazy. 2 weeks, you get 1 touchdown. And I mean, how many touchdowns did you get in this game? I mean, the Cardinals scored 6. 6 scores for the Cardinals. So really just unbelievable. And, the whole thing here was, you look at this game and you must say, and especially, Hopkins had over 100 yards receiving. That must have been just throwing the ball up and down the field. Not really how it went. And, the whole thing was, the Saints got off to a hot start in the first quarter. Rashid Shaheed, that's a tongue twister for you.
Yeah.
53-yard touchdown pass from Andy Dalton. That made it 7-0. Hot Rod, newly, joining the Cardinals here, 50-yard field goal to cut the deficit to 7-3. Another field goal in the second to make it 7-6. They do a Taysom Hill package, the Saints do, and he throws a 3-yard touchdown pass to Andy Dalton, so some trickery, throwing the ball there. 14-6 Saints. And then from that point on, I mean, really, the Cardinals dominated. You had an Ingram 2-yard touchdown run. And then to end the half, very uncharacteristic of Andy Dalton. I mean, coming into this game, he had played 3 games, only had 1 interception. He throws 3 interceptions, including 2 pick sixes to end the half. 1 to Marco Wilson, 1 to Isaiah Simmons. And that made it 28-14 going into the half. So really just, blasting through the levels of scoring that we've seen on these Thursday night football games. Second half, the Saints get on the board with a 25-yard field goal from Lutz to make it 28-17. Kyler Murray throws his only touchdown pass of the game to Greg Dortch from 5 yards out. So that made it 35-17. And they really just controlled it the rest of the way here. Saints tried to chip away with a Juwan Johnson touchdown pass from Dalton. But then, the Cardinals answered back with a 5-yard run from Eno Benjamin to make it 42-24. Another touchdown pass to Juwan Johnson from Dalton to make it 42-31. And then the Saints tried to drive down the field yet again after getting the ball back on a punt. Have to settle for the field goal. Don't recover the onside kick. Game over. That 8-game home losing streak is over with for the Arizona Cardinals. And obviously, like I said, Hopkins being back, that really helped for sure. 10 catches for 103 yards. But Murray only threw for 204, just the 1 passing touchdown. I mean, this game was really about defense and ground game. Eno Benjamin running for 92 yards. The Cardinals as a team running for 137 yards and 29 carries, averaging 4.7 yards per attempt. So that's what really carried them to victory here. And obviously the turnovers, anytime you get 3 interceptions, I mean, you're pretty much a lock to win the game, especially if your quarterback's not turning it over. So that was kind of my biggest takeaway here. And also, I mean, the Saints have always been known as a top defense in the NFL. And I know Marcus Lattimore is out, Tony. But they just do not look good. And it's here we go again with Dennis Allen. He had that failed stint as a Raiders head coach, and he steps in for Sean Payton here. And I know they've had injuries. Michael Thomas obviously being out, Jarvis Landry, and Jameis Winston. They still haven't been playing him, but I don't know. I guess they miss Sean Payton. The injuries are tough. They still have Alvin Kamara. They had to go away from the run game because of the
Mhm.
deficit. And I think that's what really killed them. And that's why Dalton was turning the ball over. When you're chasing points, you can't run the ball. And they're a
Right.
team that needs to run. I said it yesterday. I thought they were going to run for 200 yards. They didn't even run for 90 yards.
I know. Yeah, dude, it was a really tough game. I mean, when you think about it too, for the Saints, I mean, going into that half before the 2 pick sixes,
Right there.
dude, the Saints, it was going to be a tight game. And even though the score was tight, I think, before those pick sixes, it was what, 14-10 or something. Like, yeah, it was tight scoring, but the Saints just looked like they had command offensively. Dalton was looking good. I mean, when you look at, take away those 3 interceptions, he still threw for 300 yards. He had 4 throwing touchdowns too.
Yeah.
Dalton was looking good, but he just like, I mean, there was 1 pick six that was so bad. I mean, he was getting a lot of pressure from the left side. He may have been hit, which kind of, made the ball come out a little weird because it looked like he just threw it straight to the Cardinals linebacker. And then the other one, obviously a mistake on his part. And then the other interception that, obviously didn't go for the touchdown, but still, I mean, 3 picks from Dalton, before the half was over. I mean, obviously, at that point, the Cardinals were just like, literally got handed the game basically at that point. And yeah, the Saints are trying to come back, but you look at the score, 42-34. Yeah, the Saints could have done better on defense, but if Dalton doesn't throw 2 pick sixes, I mean, they win this game.
Probably, yeah.
So, a really tough loss for him, tough loss for the Saints in general. And I think Dalton, the stat was that coming into this game, he never won a primetime football game.
Yeah, probably.
I think is what that
I know
is.
he's gone to the Kirk Cousins school
Right.
of quarterbacking.
Yeah.
So I definitely am buying that one for sure. But listen, I mean, the Cardinals live to see another day. The Saints are buried, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, this is one and done for Dennis Allen. He just does not have the track record, and this team is a lot better than 2-5. I'll tell you that much. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. But obviously we have a full slate coming up here on Sunday. So it's the time for the football frenzy, the music bite, Tony. I know you're earning to get it going.
I am, dude. Wait.
Can we get some music? Do we have music?
Yeah, dude. Love that. What a Friday bite, huh, dude?
Oh yeah.
What a Friday bite. All right, so let's run it down here for Brian here. The football frenzy. Let's see. Stand by. All right, first game on Sunday, 1:00 on FOX. We have the Atlanta Falcons in Cincinnati against the Bengals. What do you think, Brian?
Falcons is surprising 3-3.
Very.
Bengals, after a 1-2 start or 0-2 start, have really turned things around here. But, I still think the Falcons are a 6-7 win team. The Bengals should be able to find a way to at least get a wild card here. So I just have to go with a better team here. And I think the Falcons, play them tight, maybe even lead at half, like 17-14. But in a higher scoring game, I think we're going to see the Cincinnati Bengals win this one 36-28.
Next game, also 1:00. Over to CBS now, though. We have the Detroit Lions in Dallas against America's team. Cooper Rush, is he starting?
No. Dak is back.
That's solidified?
Yes, it is. And the Cowboys obviously coming off a disappointing game against the Eagles. And it's just kind of funny because the Lions have scored a lot of points. They're disappointed with their 1-4 start. I mean, they're right up there with points scored in the NFL. Might even be leading it. I have to check that. But I just think Jared Goff, pressure in his face. I think the Dallas defense, just with their X's and O's compared to what that Detroit Lion defense does, I think that Dallas will try to ease Dak back in. And I talk about this all the time, focusing on the running game, high percentage throws for the quarterback. So you can see Dak throwing for like 2.25, 2 scores, but Dallas running for like 160 yards on the ground, easily defeating the Detroit Lions here. We're going to say 35-28.
Wow. All right, next game, still at 1 o'clock. Your Indianapolis Colts, Matt Ryan, is going to be in Tennessee against the Titans. Both teams 3-2 here. Obviously, the Colts have that one tie as well. What do you think, Brian?
It seems like the Colts are kind of firing on all cylinders here. After a very, very tough start, Matt Ryan really getting the ball going through the air. And I know, at home, the Titans are tough to beat. But I don't know. I still just am not impressed with them, not impressed with Ryan Tannehill. So I just kind of think the Colts will keep the good times rolling, and I think Matt Ryan, will spread the ball out to his receivers, Pierce and Campbell, maybe get Mo Alley Cox involved as well. And I think also Jonathan Taylor, it'll be big for him to get going here as well. So I think kind of a similar thing to the Falcons game, maybe Tennessee at the half. It's, 14-10. But I think the Colts grind this one out and end up defeating the Tennessee Titans 28-21.
Next game, Aaron Rodgers with the 3-3 Packers are going to be in Washington against the Commanders.
Listen, it's not been pretty. I mean, this is easily the worst start Rodgers has been off to in about 5 years. So he's tight. And I just think, it's time for him to step up. And I think Sammy Watkins is going to be activated for this game. And I think there's a lot of tape out there on the Packers, not doing things right, not executing right. And I think they're going to do the same type of thing with the high percentage throws, really establish the run against Washington. And I think, Rodgers is going to look across the sidelines there, and he's going to say, I'm not letting Taylor Heineke in his first start of the year beat me. No way, no how. So I think Rodgers finally puts together a representative performance, 290 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, hits Sammy Watkins for a 70-yarder, streaking down the sidelines.
Wow.
Pack run for $150, and they defeat the Washington Commanders. I almost said football team there. We're going to say 42-17.
Next game here, we have the man who's never going to retire, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Carolina against the Panthers. Obviously, I'm sure Brady is looking for an easy win here, but I don't know what Brian thinks.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a tricky spot. All the ineptitude on both teams, really. And it's just funny. You never expected to say that about a Brady-led team, at this point in a season, especially with the talent surrounding him. But fortunately for him, I mean, really, I guess if everyone was healthy, it wouldn't matter because Baker's awful anyway. But PJ Walker, I mean, is not even really a third-string quarterback in the NFL. So this could get ugly quick. And I do think that this is finally the game where we see that Brady. So I could see this actually being a shutout, a road shutout for the Bucs, 28-0 over the Panthers. Brady, 4 touchdown passes, 3 to Mike Evans.
Didn't think I was going to hear that. Next game, still in the 1 o'clock time slot on FOX. We have to Brian's surprise, I think, the 5-1 Giants here, who are undefeated in away games, are traveling to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars.
Overlook spot.
No, dude. Come on.
Jacksonville, 35. Giants 10. And it just a humbling experience, for the Giants, because I think they've got a little ahead of themselves. Fans are talking Super Bowl, talking contract extension for Daniel Jones. Let's pump the brakes and just get a sense of reality. This is not going to be a playoff season for the New York Giants.
Not even a playoff season, dude.
No.
All right, last 1 o'clock time slot here. We have the Cleveland Browns in Baltimore against the Ravens here. What do you think?
Ravens are a disaster.
I know.
This year. 3-3, blowing leads, lack of offense last couple games. Browns aren't any better after a decent start here. You would think, I mean, Lamar due for like a huge game. So let's go with that. I think he'll find a way. One of those games where he has 400 yards of total offense, rushing, passing, 4 total touchdowns. And I think, the Ravens defense finally steps up. We talk about the Yankees stepping up against the Astros. This Ravens defense has been much maligned. And here they are at home at M&T Bank Stadium. I think the crowd's behind them. So I want to say the Ravens in this one are going to defeat the Cleveland Browns 31-17.
All right, next game, we're moving to the 4:05 time slot. And Brian's game of the day, the Battle of the Wilsons. The New York Jets are in Denver against the Broncos. Jet up, let's ride. What do you think?
So good vibes all around Florham Park these days. But Elijah Moore yesterday requesting the trade.
Tough.
I'm guessing he'll be deactivated for this one. Maybe Denzel Mims ends up suiting up. But still, the Jets are ascending. The Broncos are descending. Nathaniel Hackett is a complete clown at the head coach position, as is Russell Wilson at quarterback. And on top of that, he's dealing with injuries. So you couple all of that, and I think the Jets roll 5-2. Broncos fall to 2-5, stuck with Wilson in his $250 million contract. And I think, once again, the high percentage throws, the run game, the defense, I think this all bodes well for the Jets here, as they're going to defeat the Denver Broncos 24-10.
Love it. Jets talking about Super Bowl? No.
Playoffs, though.
Playoffs. All right, next game. Continuing the 4:05 time slot here. Seems like the battle of the shit shows here in the Texans in Vegas for your Raiders here. Brian, I don't know, Brian.
New life for the Raiders. And I think this is a game where they say, all right, enough screwing around. We blew games. We didn't show up for games. And we've been a major disappointment. All the buzz, all the juice, bringing in Devontae Adams here, facing an inferior opponent at home. I think the Raiders will have no trouble with the Houston Texans, and they are going to defeat them 49, Tony, to 10.
Wow, dude.
Derek Carr, 5 touchdowns.
Love to hear it from Carr. All right, pushing along here to the 4:25 time slot. We're back on FOX, baby. It's Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith's in
Los Angeles.
LA. They're playing the Chargers.
Stumbling upon his words. So I think we talked about reality checks, and I think that's going to be one for Seattle. Geno. But I think Justin Herbert, it's been a tough start for him, even though the Chargers are 4-2, not getting the results in terms of his statistics that he's used to. And I think this is a kind of a get right spot. And I think they will have no problem with the Seattle Seahawks here. So give me the Chargers here, 35-7 over the Seahawks. Geno Smith, 2 pick sixes.
Oh. All right. 4:25 time slot. Yet again here, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to San Francisco to play the 49ers here. 49ers, couple acquisitions, it seems.
3 draft picks for Christian McCaffrey, announced it during last night's Thursday Night Football game. Huge for the Niners. Obviously,
big impact.
This moves Jeff Wilson to the backup role. McCaffrey can run, can catch. Obviously, one of the more talented backs in the league. I think it is a big impact because you're kind of limited with Jimmy G. He can't do anything crazy. But you have George Kittle, you have Deebo Samuel, so you have yet another weapon for him. So I would imagine they'll find plenty of ways to get him involved in space. But there's some talk out there. I was listening to NFL radio this morning that it's probably a limited pitch count for McCaffrey in this one. And I just think the Chiefs, coming off the disappointing loss to the Bills here, are going to show up. Mahomes, going to get more in sync with his receivers. And I just don't know if the Niners can keep up with this high power Chiefs offense. Maybe if they had played later in the season, McCaffrey knows the playbook. He's playing 98% of the snaps.
Right.
I think it could be a different story, but not today. As the Chiefs are going to defeat the San Francisco 49ers 38-15. All
right, our last game of the night, NBC, 8:20 p.m. who's doing the color commentating here. Pittsburgh Steelers in Miami against the Dolphins. Tua back in the lineup, right?
Tua back in the lineup. Talk about, he's mentioned on that Thursday Night Football game, went unconscious on the field. So that's why he's been out a couple weeks. And you got to give it to him for being tough, getting back out there. I mean, you can only imagine how traumatic that is. We saw the Steelers with that big win over Tampa last week. We've seen the Dolphins lose 3 in a row, obviously playing Skylar Thompson, Teddy Bridgewater, a quarterback, since Tua got injured. So you would anticipate that this would be a get-right spot for the Dolphins, but I would say not so fast.
Really?
You got Tua coming back from injury. Mike Tomlin, a smart coach, can somehow fire up the defense here and just have Kenny Pickett, high percentage throws, running game, defense. So in a lot lower scoring game than anticipated, you're going to see the Pittsburgh Steelers 13-10 over the Miami Dolphins, picking up another upset victory against them.
Wow.
Sunday night.
Just like that, dude. That's your Sunday night.
Sunday night, Tony. But you know what I'm going to ask you now. 3 winners for the picks. What do you got?
Okay. Honestly, just going off that last game here, I think Tua comes back with a force. Steelers defense, I don't know, man. I don't think they're gonna have it. Give me the Dolphins for the 8:20 Sunday night football game. And then let's see. I'm gonna try and pick against you here. Did you go with the 49ers? No, you didn't. You went the Chiefs. All right.
Take the
I'll take the Giants over the Jags. How about that?
Geez.
Overlooked spot? I think not. Okay. And then, Monday morning, they're still talking about Super Bowl. Brian is still angry about it. And then my third pick here. Who do you go with the Colts-Titans game?
Colts. Derrick Henry, your boy.
Give me the Titans here. Derrick Henry. I still could tackle him, but he's going to have a good game here. I would say the Titans squeak by. Tight game against the Colts here, but at home, give me the Titans.
A couple comments here, Tony, if you would.
Oh, yes. Sorry. The frenzy gets pretty crazy. My mother says, good morning, fellas.
Top of the morning to you.
My mother says, Browns Stadium is beautiful. Looks like Choker says, let's go Steelers.
He's pumped up to have
There
him in
we
that
go.
my upset pick on Sunday night. So
My mother
Choker's pumped up
says,
about that.
definitely the Giants. Thank you, Mom. As Preferred says, hello, Mama. Thank you, Preferred.
All right. So for my 3 picks here, got to lead it off with the Raiders. I think that one is just a complete lock, Tony. There's just no doubt about it. So give me the Raiders. Give me the Jets too. I mean, the Broncos are just the definition of dysfunction. And I just think the Jets are just so much better when it comes to fundamentals than they are. And then for my last pick here, give me Dallas. Dak being back.
Prefer.
And I just think we talk about fundamentals. Dallas Cowboys, much maligned over the years, but compared to, Mr. Caffeine himself, Dan Campbell, and the
Little bit of an
Lions,
oddball.
I don't think there'll be any trouble there. So give me the Cowboys, third and final. So Raiders, Jets, Cowboys. You go Dolphins, Giants, Titans.
The bugaboo, Tony.
So shaping up for what should be, a great Sunday. And I just got an alert on ESPN.
Like the finish
Elijah
on this
Moore,
puppy?
after requesting the trade, returning to the facility today. Zach Wilson, made a comment yesterday that they're all going to try to support him, want him to be on the team. So basically, that would allude to the fact that you would anticipate that he's going to stay with the team.
Interesting.
But time will tell. And I think it's just one of those things that they're going to get less than the second round pick that they, used to select him last year. Then they're not going to do a deal. But if someone comes with something better than that, maybe it'll be different. But I would anticipate, through that November 1st deadline,
Do you
he
have
stays with the team.
any eyes on anybody?
As far as who would trade for him?
Yeah.
Pack
Really?
would be perfect.
Picks?
See, that's the thing. I think 2 and a 3.
Right?
I think that's what. I don't know if they'll give that up. So, and also the Pack might have their eyes on someone more established too, because I know Rodgers getting frustrated with the younger guys. So,
yeah.
we'll have to see what happens there, Tony. But now let's go to the world of the National Hockey League.
Here's Matthews. Scores! Patrick goal!
My goodness, this is a great shot. Big hit on the far side by McCarr. He flattens Jordan Stahl. Oh my goodness.
Gets the gun right back. Terrified and robbed by Shesterkin.
That's brilliance from Igor Shesterkin.
It's a breakaway to win it in overtime. McDavid scores the winner in overtime.
All right, Tony. So Oilers bounced back 6-4 over the Hurricanes yesterday, but what the hell happened at the Garden last night? 3-2 Sharks in overtime.
Like that.
I mean, I don't know. Here we go. Lack of offense. I was just speaking to it yesterday. That's not a problem. And they lose a game to a winless Sharks team. No excuse, Tony. I mean, we could make all the excuses we want. It's not good. I know it's a long season. I know these type of things happen. So I would guess you're going to say the most important thing is you learn and it's on to the next game.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. Like you mentioned, long season. I think what the Rangers are incredibly good at, and you saw it with, a lot of the post-game interviews with Kreider and Trouba. They took accountability for their lack of good play, honestly. All around, just really not capitalizing on opportunities. I talked about yesterday how good their power play unit is. They were 0 for 5 last night on the power play. I guess the one good thing you could say is that they scored twice, 5-on-5 hockey, second period, right? You kind of thought, obviously the Sharks went up 1-0 first period. Second period, Rangers come out quick. They use their speed. They're creating space. They're creating time for themselves to kind of get pucks on net here, get good opportunities in front of the net. For the second period, at least, scoring twice, that's great. But that third period, the Sharks kind of turned the tides a little bit here on the Rangers. They seemed like they were in control most of the third period. And of course, I talked about, the Rangers using their speed to their advantage, creating, mismatches, breakaways, forcing the Sharks to kind of, be flat-footed to commit penalties, which is exactly what happened. They had 5 power play opportunities. Unfortunately, what I was talking about, how good they were on the power play, they were not good on the power play last night in being 0 for 5, not converting on any of those opportunities. I mean, again, you look at what the Rangers have been doing since last season. I mean, the first power play unit, Zibanejad, Panarin, with that third guy, flexing a little bit, but most of it is Kreider. I mean, the 3 of them, it should be an absolute shoo-in, for getting goals on their power play, and it's been like that. Unfortunately, last night, and what you heard from a lot of the players is they were not converting those opportunities. There was, I think there was a point in the third period where there was a centering pass. Zibanejad was in front of the net. And he just could not get his stick on the puck, and it was a wide open net. No one was there, and it was opportunities like that was happening all game long, where the Rangers were not able to just find the back of the net. And you talk about, overlooked spot, whatever, learning from the mistakes. The Rangers did certainly shoot themselves in the foot here. And, not converting those opportunities led to an overtime, and, 3-3 overtime, literally anything could happen. So you really can't blame them for losing in overtime. Because like I said, there's just so much time, so much space. Anyone could score at any given moment. But it was just, those opportunities in regulation, they did not convert on. And I mean, when you look at the stats here, I mean, their faceoffs, I think they won like 46% of the faceoffs. Shesterkin looked good. I mean, there was times, only 27 shots against him, right? He had 24 saves. There were times where there were multiple shots in succession off the rebound. San Jose was holding their own in their offensive zone here, making the Rangers have long shifts, forcing their defenders to play a lot of tough puck here. And, because of that, San Jose was able to have, better opportunities with, tired Rangers on the ice for those extended shifts here for them. And they were able to capitalize on that, scoring twice in regulation, obviously kind of bookending, the game here. And of course, with the overtime goal. But not a loss that you like from the Rangers here, especially at home against, a team that was winless, and a team that that you're certainly better of, talent-wise across the board. But like you mentioned, long season, learn from the mistakes, come back the next day, with some fire under your ass here.
And who makes this schedule? I mean, they don't play till Sunday against the Blue Jackets. They just were off for 2 days.
Dude, and I feel like we went through this last season too.
Yeah.
Where it was days where I think there was a point where there was like almost a week where the Rangers didn't play.
That was more so because of the whole Olympic situation.
Yeah, it was the Olympics. It was the makeup games. It was,
but still,
you could
adjust.
At this point,
everything is like, we can't touch things.
Yeah.
It's like you could do whatever you want.
Honestly, dude, you're in charge of the whole fucking league. Like, figure it out, dude.
Unbelievable. And you know what else is unbelievable?
What's unbelievable?
How about the local kid, Alec Touch, with a hat trick last night for Buffalo?
You called it, dude.
6'3", over the Flames. I mean, is Buffalo for real, or you think this is the same trick, same trap that we started to fall into last year about the same time?
I think it's a trap. And is Touch the
Tooch? Is it Tooch? I mean, it's T.
I thought it was Tuck.
How could it be Tuck? Would it be the K? Tuch?
With the C, it's like an H silent Tuc. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but I thought
the
it
hat
was
trick
tough.
though, former first-round pick from Minnesota.
Yeah, and he did really well for Buffalo last season, especially towards the tail end as well. He was probably one of their primary scorers. You see him kind of elevating his game further and kind of rolling over into this season, with some, again, fire under his ass. I mean, he's the young kid who's trying to prove himself, on a Buffalo team that doesn't really have a whole lot to look into. I mean, I think he's going to be a great player. I think he's going to be, someone who Buffalo can rally around. But will the rest of the team be able to keep up with him? I don't think so. I mean, he's not going to get a hat trick every night here. And yeah, I don't know. Who did they play last night again? Ducks?
Flames.
The Flames.
I mean, that's an impressive win.
That is an impressive win.
Markstrom pulled for Vladimir.
Surprised?
I mean, yeah, against Buffalo. And then how about 40 saves for Eric Comrie?
40 saves?
Yeah.
How many pucks? How many shots on goal they have?
43.
Jesus, dude. Oh, so Markstrom was pulled early, huh?
Yeah.
That's tough.
I mean, you can't give up that many goals.
Yeah, the quick 3 goals in the first period. Yeah, I'm looking at it right here. It was, 6 minutes in, almost 11 minutes in, 13 minutes in. I mean, that is tough, dude. It's not. I mean, I guess good for the backup for kind of hanging in there, but obviously, Calgary, surprisingly, you're down 3-1 at that point to come back, especially with Touch over there. I mean, it was 3-1 without him.
Right?
And he scored twice in the third, once in the second. I mean, very impressive stuff from him, and a hard game to come back for Calgary. But I'm not worried about Calgary. I don't think Buffalo. I think it's just one of those maybe overlooked spots. Tough game for Calgary here. I think if they play Calgary again, it's going to be a very different game.
Yeah. That is for sure. And, we talk about schedule making here. Kind of odd, only, Friday night. Is Friday night always light for hockey or no?
Kind of, yeah.
Only 3 games. So we'll get one apiece in a common here. You could begin first. I'm kind of curious to see where you go. You got Lightning, Panthers, Red Wings, Blackhawks, Kraken, Avalanche.
Yeah. I think I know where you're going to go, honestly. And I kind of I'm going to go with the Red Wings first game in Chicago. We talked about Chicago being the kind of shit show that it is. Kane and Taves, wishing they were traded or moved somewhere else here in their free agency. But I'll go with the Red Wings. I mean, a team that's 2-0-1 right now. Obviously, Dylan Larkin with 3 assists on the season so far in the first 3 games. I talk about him being a phenomenal captain and a great playmaker, and I think that shows with just his 3 assists so far. He's someone who really just I guess elevates other players around him. I mean, you saw him with just some phenomenal assists so far this season. I think that's going to continue here against Chicago. I think Detroit has some speed here. They have some good young talent. And I think Chicago, who's a team that's, I think, at this point is trying to find themselves. I think it's going to be tough to kind of combat that speed here in Detroit or in Chicago against Detroit. So give me Detroit here. I'll say 3-1.
All right. I like it. I kind of like saving the Lightning Panthers as a common.
Yeah, me too.
So I'll take the Avalanche, even though,
Tough
you know,
loss.
after seeing him firsthand with the Rangers last year, I definitely, you know, I'm not as big of a fan as Alexander Gorgiev as you are. And I believe the Kraken at least once beat the Avalanche last year, if I'm not mistaken. You know, but I'm going to just say, I mean, Colorado with the talented team and, you know, being at home, you would expect them to make minced meat, you know, of the Kraken here. So let's say we're going to give the Avalanche a 4-1 victory over the Seattle Kraken. Rantanen, 2 goals and an assist.
Love it, dude.
Gorgie, 30 saves.
Wow.
So we got Lightning, we got Panthers.
Mhm.
And how about the Lightning, Tony? 1 and
1 and
3.
3.
You know, any, you know, losing Donahue. I mean, you think that was a big not
McDonough?
McDonough. I don't know.
McDonough. Who's Donahue?
I just got confused with
Yeah.
McDonough, but whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, but there definitely has been a hockey player named Donahue. I just don't remember who.
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
You know, sounds good.
Yeah, I'm sure, you know, going back to the what was it, the original 6? Is that what
Yeah.
they call them? Yeah, there was someone named Donahue.
So one Donahue at least. Yeah, I don't know. I think Tampa Bay just, you know, they got off to a tough start of the season, you know, starting against obviously the Rangers was their game 1 here. In a pretty, you know, tough loss for them. And I think they're still trying to find their skates a little bit. You know, you see Stamkos still doing his own thing. You know, scoring here and there. He's got 7 points in the season.
But I thought Hedman's crazy.
Hedman is crazy. Give him, you know, he's an old guy. He's big. Give him some time. He was adjusting to new defensemen around him. And, you know, Stamkos, like I mentioned, 6 goals in the season so far, 1 assist in 4 games. That is pretty good. And then, you know, Nikita Kucherov also kind of, you know, 4 power play assists, right? So, you know, their power play unit is very dangerous. You know, he's been assisting Stamkos a lot in the power play. I just think a couple tough losses, honestly, to start off the season. You know, it started with that Rangers loss. They lost to Pittsburgh and they lost to a tight game against Philly. I think for me, if you want to ask me my pick here,
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. I think it's going to be a bounce back game for them. Battle of the Sunshine State here. And I think it's time for Vasilevsky to have a shutout, honestly, already to kind of, you know, we've seen Vasilevsky kind of, you know, elevate his level of play in these big spots against big teams. And I think Vasilevsky knows that at this point in the season, even though it's early, Tampa Bay needs some type of spark here. Maybe capture lightning in a bottle, as Brian likes to say. And I think Vasilevsky is going to be just absolutely untouchable, a brick wall in between the pipes tonight, getting his first shutout of the season. I think Tampa Bay is going to win this one 2-0.
I think the free fall continues for Tampa. Maybe a little worn out too. You know, after all these cup runs that they've went on. And I think too McDonough. I mean, you know, that's a big leadership void to fill. So I'm gonna actually go with the Panthers here, like what they've done. And Bobrovsky, is that how you say it? Bobrovsky?
Their goaltender,
Sergei
Bobrovsky.
Sergei Bobrovsky. I believe in him, and he maybe Vasilevsky, you know, isn't superhuman. And maybe this Panther offense gets going here. So give me the Panthers here, 5-1 over the Lightning. The sky is falling, Tony. In Tampa. The sky is falling, Tony. So you know, before we do our Prism pack here, I just want to give a leaderboard update. CJ Cup, South Carolina. Right now, we have Lee Hodges at 7 under par, shot a 68 yesterday. He's 4 under through 11 holes today. He's co-leader right now with Cam Davis.
Is he related to Gil?
Not related to Gil.
Oh.
Cam Davis here, 7 under, 66 yesterday, 2 under through his first 5 holes. KH Lee, Seamus Power, Kurt Katayama, Trey Mullinex, and Gary Woodland all tied at 6 under. 1 shot back here. And Tom Kim, hasn't teed off yet, but he is 5 under par, tied for 8th. So in this loaded field, you had a lot of guys put up some big numbers there in South Carolina. So I'd expect this to be an exciting finish over the weekend, and we will give you a winner on Monday. But now it is time, Tony, if you could cue up the music.
The Prism Pack Reveal!
Like I said last time. Can we get some music? Do we have music? Nice to give the vocals a rest.
Oh, yeah, dude.
So here we go. We're going 2-pack Fridays per Michael's request.
Oh, yeah, baby.
And I see one that I like off the bat, and I think he'll be riled for this one. Kind of an unheralded guy, but I've always liked him. Played on the Lakers last season. Malik Monk.
Oh, there we go.
So, obviously University of Kentucky always could score, defend, hit those 3-pointers. A guy that almost got into a full-out brawl with the Lakers in Detroit last year, Isaiah Stewart. So kind of an underrated guy. Fiery, gets the boards. So you would like him, and a guy that is a wily veteran, I guess you could say, been on multiple teams, 3-and-D, Robert Covington. So I think X's and O guys should be a fan of Michael's for sure.
Like that.
And this card looks sick. I just had to get familiar with this player, but we have Kai Jones, instant impact, 2021 draft pick. So Kai Jones, I'm expecting a full scouting report from Michael on this one.
Wow. That's pack 1, just like that?
Just like
that. So
that.
Quick. So quick.
I know. What is it, week 7 for the NFL?
Oh, my gosh.
So I'm expecting, oh, my God.
Oh,
this
baby.
Is something. This is really something. A guy that has been much maligned on this show, has a lot of hardware in terms of personal awards, defensive players of the years, a big fat contract, not a big scorer, hasn't done anything in the postseason, a new member of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Rudy Gobert.
Wow.
So
dude.
Kind of ironic. And this is a 75-year of the NBA card. So kind of holographic, like the Pokemon, I guess you could say. So that's an interesting one. Our next card, a guy who can light it up from 3-point range, Bogdan Bogdanović, one of the more interesting names in the NBA. The next one here, a vintage card, and these are the ones that Michael gets really excited about, the throwbacks, the guys playing the late 90s, the early 2000s. He was actually involved with the Malice at the Palace way back when. Jermaine O'Neal. So always was a versatile center, could score, rebound, very intense. And the last guy from the Washington Wizards, Denny Adagia. And I know I said that one wrong. Not as bad as Sandro from yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But, a younger player and someone that the Wizards have high hope for. So I would say a pretty successful pull. Some different cards. I don't think there were really any cards that we had before.
No,
so
all new cards. Love that.
Nice to get some new ones in the mix, Tony. But we really covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah,
really
man.
Touching all of the major sports here.
Equinox last night.
As we head into this weekend, is there anything else that you wanted to say on your way out here?
Let's go Giants. Let's go Rangers, huh?
And
let's go Yankees.
at least say it, Tony.
We got comments. Speaking of let's go Yankees, Prefer says, should baseball allow more celebratory gestures like Naylor, the baby rockin', or Chisholm with the dancing, driving, the Euro step around the bases? Do you think so?
See,
I don't know.
I'm the wrong person to ask that type of question too, because I just always thought it was completely ridiculous how so many things have been intertwined with sports.
Mm-hmm.
And the NFL, I think, is the guiltiest with this. The sack dances and all that, the celebrations. Why do people focus on it so much?
I don't know.
Tony, have you ever got excited about a touchdown celebration?
No. And it's like, that's the thing. Like, I think, like people are like, oh yeah, you should let them do it. Sure. But I think two things. One, I'm a firm believer in like, act like you've been there before,
Aaron Judge. Literally.
And then number 2, it's gotten so out of hand with the celebrations. It's just way too much. How many times you see NFL specifically, like you want to talk about a sack celebration? The guy gets or he thinks he gets a sack. Ball gets fumbled. He's celebrating. There's a play going on behind him for the ball, and it's like, what are you doing?
There's that.
You know?
There's that type of celebration when they're down 3 touchdowns.
Mhm.
There's
Oh,
the
yeah, of
receiver
course.
wide open, streaking to the end zone, tossing the ball before he
Before he
gets to the
crosses
end
the-
zone,
yeah.
touchback. I mean, are we kidding? I just don't understand the need for this stuff. And they say they want to have fun, but I mean, this isn't a video game.
Yeah.
It's a sport.
And it's just so far gone at this point.
Yeah. And those things come back to bite. Obviously, he mentions Josh Naylor. I thought one of the funnier things I've seen in baseball was when the Astros and Nationals World Series with the Soto bringing the bat down to first base.
Yeah.
Because he did that by accident, right? And then, or did Bregman do it first? It was something like that.
I think Bregman did it first.
Okay,
and then Soto did the same thing.
I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see that. I've never seen somebody bring the bat down to first base.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, especially baseball. I mean, there's no need for it.
I know.
Would it surprise me that people in the NBA and you know what? You want to know a good way to celebrate other than Aaron Judge? Go watch a hockey game. I mean, what are you skating, doing a pirouette?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you've been there before. You're pumped up. You celebrate with your teammates. That's it. It doesn't need to be this crazy dance and all that stuff. So that always just annoyed me, Tony.
Yeah. No, likewise, dude.
But yeah. So other than that,
we do have one more comment from Buffer.
Yeah, we don't need to read that one. But yeah, he does say it was a good show. So we agree with him on that. As far as the Astros comment, nice try, Buffer. Here we go. The bite on the fastball, all of that. Tony looks like he's ready for a second cup of coffee.
Bullshit.
Strike 3.
Yeah, my
over
first,
there.
dude.
Or his first. But once again, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and continuing to comment, like, and subscribe. What a show. What a life. All of the archives on the YouTube page, Tony in Costume, as well as the merch, downtimetv.com. Yankees, get it together this weekend. Let's go. Let's come back on Monday in a 2-2 series, best of 3 to go to the World Series. Let's go. Let's go Jets. Let's go Rangers. And we will see you on Monday.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV checking in. I want to thank all our fans out there who's been liking, subscribing, sharing our content. You guys are the best. You guys are our bloodline. You make us love what we do. Thanks again.